I just got back from the Bahamas for a week with my family. We went down to Atlantis. We didn't spend a huge amount of money, maybe 25,000 bucks to do it. But, you know, I didn't buy travel insurance. I'll be the first one to tell you that. What did I miss? What could have happened to me that I would have
You should
regretted?
have. Right. So there, let's talk just, holistically so everyone's clear. The only thing they can do for you before your trip is give you your money back. There is no other benefit to travel insurance before the trip. Once you start the trip, you have something called in-trip benefits. The most important one is medical coverage. Okay. God forbid something would have happened to you in the Bahamas, either hospital, doctors, medications, whatever health insurance you have at home likely would not have covered you properly. Certainly medical evacuation. Again, for just medical, very cheap. What are we talking about? $100, $200, nothing. It's peanuts. What makes travel insurance expensive is your age and how expensive is your trip. So if you don't want to protect your trip, let's say you said it's 25 grand, but I'm cool not protecting that. Get me just the medical part. What are you talking about? $200? It's nothing, but it's still very important. We had a man 2 weeks ago in the Caribbean. Listen, he was 81 years old, fine, but he had a stroke. He needs to be medically evacuated. I mean, it was over $800,000. There were 7 doctors on the plane. He almost died. So the point is, very dangerous to travel without travel insurance, certainly the medical. And then you have all the ancillary stuff, trip delay, which they can pay for hotels and meals while you're delayed, bag delay, baggage loss, things like that. But the main focus really is trip cost and the medical coverage. If you think you have coverage overseas, again, just speaking generically, you probably don't have what you think you have. Even if you do, it's probably secondary coverage or whatever. Maybe it's emergency coverage, which only covers what they deem to be an emergency, whatever. It can get very dicey. There's no reason for anyone to travel outside of America without at least that base. And it's not expensive. I'm not pushing anything expensive. It's just, if you work here for a week, you'll be very paranoid. We see sickness, injury hospitals all day here. So it's just a kind of outlook. My wife and Panama about a month ago, and obviously they're not, my kids are 9, my wife's 30. We're not talking about anything crazy, but the first thing I did was get them travel insurance just because it's something I believe strongly about in real life for myself as well.
Yeah, and I mean, you bring up a good point, man. I actually did have travel insurance. I just wanted to see how you would answer the question if I said I didn't. Because I do subscribe to the product for all the reasons you mentioned, not the least of which is I don't want to have any medical procedures in a Bahamian hospital if I can get
No,
repatriated back to, Miami or
correct.
Fort Lauderdale. But I mean, I think that a lot of times when people think travel insurance, what they're thinking about is going on Delta Airlines, booking your ticket, and then signing up for something to insure against, you not being able to take that flight or whatever else.
Right.
I almost view, the cost of the trip like comp and collision on an auto policy, right? If you own your car and you know the value of it, you know how much you have at risk, go ahead if you want to self-insure. You can buy an insurance product and here's what it's going to cost, but if you don't agree with that amount, then that's fine. Self-insure for the trip.
Right.
But you don't want to self-insure for liability because you don't know what that's going to cost. Just like you don't want to self-insure for anything that could happen to you from a medical standpoint when you're out of the country or otherwise. Maybe even, I don't know about domestically how that stuff works because I don't know. I'm not as concerned about whether or not I have a medical event and I'm out of state somewhere. Last summer I was, because I went on a fishing trip up to the Kenai Peninsula in Alaska, and that's not right around
Okay.
the corner. So, I think
Right.
that, that was a wise purchase. But from what I'm hearing from you, it is. It's just like, it's not an expensive thing, but it could be. Could be if you don't have it.
It could turn into a big problem. Yeah. I mean, that's why some people, they're like, you do travel insurance? Like, what is that? It's like $10. Like, they don't understand the entirety of the whole world of travel insurance. But certainly, even if you're within America, the only thing I would say is Alaska cruise, for example. If you're on a cruise ship and God forbid something medically does happen, even in America, you may need to be medically evacuated off the cruise ship because the cruise ships, they don't have any real medical facilities there. And that's where we've had the majority of the evacuations that, as a company, we've been a part of have been on cruises. Getting someone off a cruise onto the mainland or back to America, whatever it is, that's something that you may want to consider, even though you're not leaving America. But typically, if someone would call and doesn't have an expensive trip and are just traveling domestically, we would probably not recommend they even get travel insurance. Like, we're not here to push anything. We're here to do what's best for the client. If we hear someone call and it makes no sense, we're like, and by the way, it happens a lot. People call to buy stuff that they don't even need, doesn't make sense. And we explain it to them. We say, I don't think you even need to buy this. Because we know that ultimately our main focus is just doing the good work for the people. Everything else is going to take care of itself, you know?